Hello, everybody. It's Coach Pat back. I believe this is episode number 5. I'm working on different studios, see which one will work out best. I got my traditional Thanksgiving Day helmet on here, which I'm going to take off in a minute because the blood flow rushes to my head and I might start turning red. And I don't want to scare anybody out there. I hope everybody's doing okay. Well, what we need to talk about, it's Thanksgiving time, right? And what do you talk about on Thanksgiving? We started talking about traditions last time. We were talking about the handshake, and there's proposals for handshakes to be taken out of sports after games and stuff, and that's not the direction we want to go, because it's important that we teach our young children, boys and girls, to be respectful after defeat or in victory. And it's not to eliminate the handshake and the sportsmanship. It's to teach sportsmanship and to improve on it, not to get rid of it. Okay? So with that, there's a couple other traditions that, I'm a teacher. I'm a high school special education teacher. Been doing it for like 30 years. And the one that irks me a little bit now in schools is I know times are different, and the Pledge of Allegiance, there's no more standing up and making people stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. It's just more of a suggestion and stuff like that. So that's one I struggle with a little bit, because I still think everybody should stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and pay respect to our flag and to our country and so forth. So that's a tough pill to swallow. But you grin and bear it. You do your best to teach why we're standing and to show respect and so forth. But it is a thing that is moving in the wrong direction as far as I'm concerned. And along with that is, Star Spangled Banner. There's teams, these football teams. It's mainly football. I don't see it a lot in basketball or soccer or these other sports, but teams aren't even out on the field anymore for the Star Spangled Banner before the game. That was always, tradition to be out there standing, with your helmets at your side and facing your opponent and facing the flag and, having that silence and that moment before the game where everybody, is paying honor to our country and to the freedoms that we have. Thank you to our fine military who we just celebrated their day. And those are tough ones to see go away. I wish teams and coaches there's still a few out there, would still come out and honor that tradition of standing on the sideline during the playing of the national anthem and so forth. So those are my thoughts on that. Of course, at the end, any comments you have, any traditions I'm missing, any comments you have about the ones I've mentioned and so forth, I would love to hear other people's opinions about that. Okay? Now I have to give honor to my good friend Gino Spad out there. All right? Gino made sure that I mentioned Ireland's dramatic, stunning goal victory over Hungary in Budapest that advances them to the World Cup playoffs. And in his words, it was just chilling. All right? So let's give some recognition to all the soccer players out there, and especially to my motherland, Ireland. Go Irish. All right? And I respect that Gino sent me that, and that I could just sense the excitement in his text message to me when he was reporting on that. All right? So I hope everybody takes the time to go take a peek at that nice Irish soccer victory over Hungary. All right? Again, in the famous words of Gino Spad, it was chilling. Way to go. Go Irish. Okay, yeah, I've decided that I have thoughts that I want to make sure I bring up. Okay? Today in the NFL is mental health. They do the My Cause, My Cleats. Okay? So to the parents out there, I know we've talked in some of my episodes, all right? Let's make sure that we're not putting too much pressure on our children, all right? let them develop and play sports and enjoy themselves, all right? And don't put the pressure on them to be the next U.S. Olympic soccer player, or the next U.S. Olympic swimmer, or the next Aaron Judge or Derek Jeter, or whoever your favorite athlete is out there, or Joe Montana. Let them develop. Do things with them. Take them to improve their skills and so forth. But make sure your child, you have a grasp on your child and their mental health, and that they're enjoying themselves, and have conversations with them, have dialogue that just doesn't revolve around how they did it on the sports field or athletic arena, or how they did it at practice or something like that. Just make sure they're in a good place and they're well-rounded, okay? Because mental health is a big issue, and there's a lot of pressure on kids, and then when you send them off to college, and there's too many kids at the college age committing suicide and so forth like that. So we really got to keep things in perspective, okay? If it's gonna happen, it'll happen, all right? Let the kid, you guide them, be their parents. Same thing when you're at their events watching. Don't do things that will affect their emotional stability and so forth. All right? It's important that they're in a good place, that they're the best version of themselves, okay? Because they're no good to anybody else or themselves if they're not in a good place, and they have high anxiety and stress and so forth. So parents, I beg you, please, whatever you do, please know your children. Talk to your children, and make sure that your children feel they can come to you and they can speak to you and they can tell you they don't want to play a sport, or they don't want to do this anymore, they want to try this, they want to do that, and support them. Be their parents and support them, okay? That's my wish for everybody on Thanksgiving, all right? And be thankful for what you have, okay? That brings us to, that balance of life and sports and so forth. We got to maintain that balance, okay? Along those lines, I worked a clinic for the first time this morning, from 8 to 10 in the morning, a baseball clinic that I was asked to help work on Sundays, and today was the first Sunday. And it was wonderful to see, almost 100 kids there at 8 o'clock in the morning, from the ages of 7 to 14, working on their skills for baseball, 8 to 10 on a Sunday morning. That was encouraging, and it was good to see in this age of video games and social media and text and cell phones and stuff, that parents were doing the right thing and getting their kids out there. And it was a good atmosphere. They were just watching them get instructed and going from station to station. I mean, they were walking around with their $100 cleats and carrying their $500 bats and so forth, but that's just the age we live in, all right? The important thing is that they were up out of bed, not playing video games, and they were coming, and they've committed to coming every Sunday morning to this baseball clinic to try to improve their baseball skills. But let's make sure we keep it in perspective, that they're there to learn how to get better. Or maybe you find out it's not for them. For some of the kids I saw there, I'm hoping they get better. Otherwise, they should probably maybe go to another sport, all right? But that's all right. We're all having fun, and that's the important thing, okay? On the fired coaches note, look, kudos to James Franklin. He's a class act. He saved Penn State $40 million by taking the Virginia Tech job, and he's a coach. He's a player's coach, and he's doing the right thing. And then you look at LSU. We talked about these schools not having a plan. You look at LSU, and they're in a lawsuit with Brian Kelly. Not a big fan of Brian Kelly, but what's right is right. He had a contract, you fired him, you owe him the money, okay? You don't have the money, that's not his problem, that's your problem. And I don't feel sorry for him, that he's not going to the poorhouse either way. But you know what? This is what happens when you make decisions like this. You decide to fire him, you owe him that money, and that's a lawsuit he's probably gonna win. You probably should have, like we talked about, a couple episodes ago, have a plan, wait the thing out, do like Florida State's doing, some of these other schools where everybody kind of knows the coach is on his last legs and probably going to finish out the season, but they're going to let him finish out the season, and they're going to have a plan of what they're going to do next. That's all. It's ridiculous the amount of money we're talking about to begin with. Okay, I apologize for looking down so much, but I really just want to make sure I get everything in. All right. College playoffs coming up, high school playoffs. It's all exciting time. Traditions carry on. You know, one of the best traditions was played yesterday, Harvard versus Yale. To my cousin Mike, sorry, Yale got the best of them. They won the Ivy League championship, which automatically advances them to the FCS playoffs. You know, and that's the first time that they're doing that. All right, but that's a great tradition and one that I know will continue, and I hope continues. And for all the schools out there that's still playing Thanksgiving Day games, that's wonderful as well. All right, and I hope those traditions live on. I wish we had more of them. Okay. Next is, you know, I really appreciated McAfee doing his shirtless, the honoring the shirtless fan and so forth. Is I want Mr. McAfee to know I was taking my shirt off before he was even born. All right, and I love that celebration. Him and Aaron Donald at the Pitt Notre Dame game. All right, and then he did a segment honoring them all. You know, Mr. McAfee, Mr. Portnoy, Shane Gillis, all you guys, come on, let's have a dad segment and let's all do it together. All right, let's have a dad segment. Get in touch with me, send me a comment. All right, and let me know, you know, where I got to tune in and we got to talk. All right, I wanna come to your shows and have a segment and I know we can all get along just fine. Okay, all right. So we got Thanksgiving Day coming up. All right. With that in mind, you know what? I'll show them. All right. I'll show them. I was doing the shirtless thing before they were even born. All right. We can do this. All right. Here's a shirtless dad. All right. A shirtless dad doing his show. Okay. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. All right. Stay safe, stay healthy, and be thankful for what you got. All right. Be thankful for your family and your friends and your health and so forth. Okay. And, you know, carry on those traditions and send some comments and subscribe. All right. To the shirtless fans out there, keep it going. All right. All right. Coach Pat signing off. Episode 5 is now over. Everybody have a good one.